Hello and welcome to Talk in Oxford, coming from the beautiful market town of Abingdon, right on the banks of the River Thames. And today's programme is all about creativity. So what comes to mind when you think of people who are creative? Authors, artists, comedians perhaps? All true, of course. But creativity is more important than that because we're all doing it all of the time. Whether that's cooking a meal or putting together some furniture or planning a holiday. In today's programme we're going to be talking to a professional photographer, visiting a local garden designer and pottering about at Pottering About, which is a ceramics and glass studio just on the edge of Abingdon town centre. We're also going to be doing some creativity experiments that you could try at home. So whether you'd like to be more creative at home or at work, or maybe when just playing with your children, in today's programme we've got lots of ideas to fire your imagination. Laura, thank you ever so much for letting us come to Pottering About. Tell us a little bit about the studio here, how long it's been here and what goes on.
Okay, so us as Pottering About, we took over in January and we've slowly been turning it into how we wanted it. So we've got all the lovely decoupage shelves and everything and kind of putting our flair to it, so that's been lovely. And yeah, we just welcome anyone, any ages, to come in and have a go at all of our different activities.
And you do parties here, don't you?
We do parties, yeah, for anyone. I did a hen party the other weekend, which was fun.
Very good. And what's your background? How come you come to do this kind of work, Laura?
My background, I did costume design degree. I specialised in making, so I'm quite creative anyway. And I'm actually neighbours with Marcella, the owner. And I started off by volunteering, helping her get the Blenheim studio set up. So, and I've kind of been with her ever since.
Great, so you've got some examples of the kind of creativity that people can come and hear and do, and at the other studio too. So just, this is probably the one that most people will associate with this kind of studio, isn't it? So tell us a bit about that.
So this one, it's one of our pottery pieces that we do. We do lots of hand and footprints here. We get lots of mums coming in with their new babies, or not even new babies, we get children come in all the time and do things. They want something special for Grand's 60th birthday or something, so they all come in and we get mum doing a handprint and then the kids doing one as well. So it's just a really nice way of kind of capturing, you know, what they're like at that age. It's lovely. And we also do commission pieces as well. Yaz is doing a commission piece at the moment. And yeah, people can just come in. I'm sure loads of people have done it before. Paint the lovely pieces of pottery, they stay with us and get glazed and are transformed overnight in the kiln. So that's
very beautiful. And then, so this is probably the most familiar thing that that people would associate with a studio like this. But you do other things here, some of which are pretty unusual. So tell us about the other ways of working.
Okay, so a couple of people might recognise this one. This is they call it decoupage. We use all of the decoupage projects here. The paper, it's basically paper and glue. It's a bit like paper mache.
And what else have you got here?
I love this stuff. This is great. This is called foam clay. It's like a sticky, gooey kind of clay. It's got little polystyrene balls in it. This is great because it feels messy without actually being messy. It doesn't leave any mess on your hands. Yep. So it's great for little kids especially. And it's completely non-toxic. So
it's edible.
Well, I wouldn't advise eating it, but it's not going to cause any problems. And you just pull that off in little bits and you press it onto a model. So this is actually one of our ceramic pieces that you could potentially paint. And we've just pressed the clay onto it and that just air dries overnight.
So it doesn't need firing?
Nope, so it doesn't need firing, so I can go home the same day. So that's nice. That's a nice option.
Thanks for showing us the things that you can do here. This programme is all about creativity, and clearly this is very creative. But I'd love to know what your take about creativity is. And you did a degree, your costume design is clearly another really creative thing to do. So what for you is creativity? How would you define it, Laura?
Creativity, for me, is a way of expressing yourself. And some people say, they come in and say, oh, I'm not creative at all. And they'll sit there and they'll be like, oh, what can I do? And they'll spend ages. And then they'll make this beautiful piece. And I think everybody is creative. They don't necessarily realise it. They just have to be given the right medium.
And for you, it's about expression, personal expression.
Yeah.
So what for you, how do you see what the things that you create are an expression of who you are, Laura?
I don't know, because I wouldn't look at something and say, oh, that's a piece of me. It's just, it all starts off from one point for me. I see something and I think, ah, brilliant. So whether it's, I don't know, sometimes I just see like a coral reef or something that would look amazing in a costume. Like the shapes, that would look amazing. Or I see a colour and think, oh, I'd love to work something like that. Quite often, yeah, for me, like I said, with colours, I see the colour scheme like that and think, oh, those would look brilliant together. That would look good in a glass piece or a painting. So.
Great. Yeah. So would you be up, Laura, for me turning the tables slightly on you and doing a creativity experiment with us?
Yeah, okay.
Right, this is well, it's kind of drawing, but you don't need to be a great drawing artist in order to do it.
Okay.
Let's just clear a little bit of space. So I'm going to ask you to do 4 pictures.
Okay.
So we've got some nice colourful crayons there as well.
Okay.
So to do this, you need to think of something that you'd like to bring some creativity to. It could be something in your home life or work life that you'd like to change, or something that you've already attempted but it hasn't quite worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And something, of course, that you're happy to talk about here. So is there something?
Yes. Yeah.
So what would that be? What's this going to be about?
I had my own flat and I had to move back home. So I've got a whole house worth of things that are now all in my very tiny little bedroom back at home. So it's crazy, it's cluttered and very, very full, and I'd like a way of sorting it without having to get rid of all of my things.
Okay, that's perfect, works really well, and something that a lot of people will relate to around this, not necessarily bringing it all from another place, but having clutter. So what I'd like you to do, Laura, is just close your eyes.
Okay.
And relax as much as you're able to in this rather odd situation, just breathing into your body. And what I'd like you to do first of all is to imagine the situation as it is now. So maybe see your room as it is, and let yourself have a good look around, seeing what's there, where it's most cluttered, and get a sense of what that's like, feel what it's like to be in this room in this way. And then kind of allow a sort of settle on an image that could represent how your room is at this moment. It might be just an area of the room, or it might be the whole room, whatever works best for you. Capture an image in your mind that represents how things are now. Great, and then just open your eyes, and what I'd like you to do on the first sheet of paper is capture something of that in whatever. It doesn't need to. It could be very kind of impressionistic. It could just be swirls of colour, or it could actually be a kind of drawing of the room. Whatever works best for you.
Okay.
So capture something of that image on the first sheet of paper.
Okay.
And take a minute or two to do that. So. Perfect, great, thank you. So I'm just going to move this sheet of paper over so you've got another second sheet in front of you. And just close your eyes again.
Okay.
And let that image of the cluttered room as it is now drift away. And just come back to your breathing again and your sense of your body in the chair here and the sound of my voice. And now, Laura, what I'd like you to allow to come to you is an image of how you would like this to be. And this is without any restraints. If I could wave a magic wand and the whole thing was absolutely perfect, the absolute ideal that you would like instead of what you've got at the moment. And let yourself see what that would look like. And then what I'd like you to do again is to settle on an image that could represent the ideal result. Have you got something? Great. So just open your eyes, and again I'd like you to capture that on this sheet of paper.
So excuse my artistic skills.
No, I like the smile. Brilliant. Thank you. Love it. So, again, we're halfway through this little experiment.
Okay.
2 more pictures to go. So, I invite you to close your eyes again.
Okay.
Come back to the felt sense of your body in the chair, the sound of my voice. And now I'd like you to consider, to imagine what might get in the way of you achieving that perfect result that you've just captured on paper. And when you've got something, just open your eyes and again capture that on this sheet of paper.
Okay.
Genius. Thank you. We'll have a look at all of these in a moment, but there's one last one to do. So
Okay.
for the last time, just close your eyes again. Come back to the felt sense of being here in this room right now, sitting on that chair. And the last thing I'd like you to imagine, Laura, is this. What are the qualities that you need to focus on, that you need to allow and express in your life, the qualities that will enable you to deal with what gets in the way? What are the qualities that you have inside yourself that you need to bring to the fore in order to deal with what you've just seen that could stop you having the outcome that you want?
Okay.
Very clear. Great, thank you. So let's just have a look at the pictures that you've done and see them as a sequence. Did any of this surprise you? Have you done this kind of work before?
No, I haven't. Yeah, I think the kind of visualising between what I'd like and what I think is getting in the way was a good way of looking at things.
Okay, so we'll come to that. Just tell us about this image, and the arrows in particular.
Yeah. So this is me in my room, and it's not actually that small of a room, but I keep describing it as a small room because it's so cluttered. So this is me feeling like
hemmed in, or
hemmed in.
A new kind of So there's a feeling of not enough space.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And these arrows kind of give that
kind of the oppressive kind of.
I get it. Okay, so that's captured something of what it feels like, and as you can see, it doesn't matter. It's not about the quality of the drawing. So anybody can do this. Whether or not you think you can draw or not doesn't matter. And then there's a huge a huge difference between these two pictures.
Yeah.
But interestingly, you've used the same colours, although you've changed from red to blue, and you've introduced some green. But the room is still red.
Yeah.
But it's much bigger.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have the arrows coming in, but it still has this kind of. Tell us about what these.
I don't know. I think I picked gold. So it's kind of like a.
Right. So there's
kind of
what
glory.
Does that mean? Oh yeah.
Kind of.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah.
This is my space.
Your space.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of space here.
Yeah. And I've got a smile.
Yeah, and on this picture you have no features, no eyes, or not even a sad look. But here you've definitely got a smile. So this kind of lights you up, doesn't it? This idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then was it between this picture and this one that?
Yeah, it was the thinking. That's what I want. What's stopping me? Kind of thinking. About it from that way.
What does this represent? Tell me about this?
This represents, I go through this almost on a weekly basis, trying to sort out all of my stuff, trying to decide what needs to go and what needs to stay, and getting stuck with the memories of things. So
is it that the memories of things then make it difficult for you to throw things away?
To move on from it, yeah.
I think lots of people will relate to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, and what's the gold thing in your hand here?
That's just whatever object. Okay. Yeah.
And then there's a question mark around this. And do you see that as the biggest blocker for you achieving this?
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
Okay, so that's good. Presumably you were aware of that in some way, were you? You knew this?
I don't think so. There's something about drawing it like this, having it clear in front of you, that kind of maps it out a bit more, so I can see quite clearly what it is. What it is
that gets in the way, the main thing. And then this last one, determination is the quality of the resource.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what does that mean to you, Laura, determination?
Well, it's kind of not giving in, rather than being like, oh, okay, I'll decide next week or I'll decide the week after. It's no, I'm going to see this through. I'm going to get to where I want to be. And
how easy is it for you to connect to this quality or this resource?
My mum's very determined,
right.
So I just look to her. Okay. Just follow her example.
So if you could imagine being your mum or connecting to the determination that you see in your mum, maybe that would help you.
Yeah, I reckon I could get to that.
Yeah, and it's determination to do what? If you were to say what it is that you're determined about.
To make it less cluttered, to make it more me, to kind of put my stamp on it, make it feel more like a home rather than just a room full of stuff. Yeah, to create a home for yourself. And you might find that this image and this image will be really supportive for you in achieving what you want. Yeah. Because this clearly shows your vision for how you want your room to be, how you want your home to be. And then this is a key resource or quality that will enable you to achieve that. So you might, for instance, you could put these two images up on the wall or on the door, or have them near you when you're actually starting to declutter, as a way of inspiring you. Yeah. So Laura, thank you very much for doing this. I hope it's been useful to you. Yeah. And you can do this too. It doesn't have to be to do with decluttering a room. If you've got something that you want to achieve, you can go through this 4-stage process, doing these very simple drawings on your own, and then use the one that has what you'd like, what you want to, the goal that you have in your life, and the resource or quality as a way, as Laura just said, of inspiring you to achieve what it is that you want. Laura, it's been lovely talking to you. Thanks ever so much. Thank you.
Another circle. Okay. And an R for realist.
Okie dokie.
So, Will, welcome to the programme.
Hello there.
Very good to see you here. Lovely afternoon we've got in the
beautiful
Market Square in Abingdon. This programme is all about creativity, and for a living you do something, you've managed to earn a living from something that everybody else is doing but not earning money from, which is taking photographs. So we've all got one of these.
Sure.
We're all taking pictures, but we're not earning money from it in the way that you are. So tell us a little bit about how you've become a professional photographer.
Well, I started very much at school. In the olden days, we used to have a dark room, and we used to do it all on film. And it was a magical process of seeing something in a tray being developed, coming through on this white paper, and then seeing it developed from nothing into a picture that you've taken. Now, originally, my photography was quite not very inspiring. It's a bit boring, to be honest. But I was just more into the process of how these pictures developed through this weird chemistry. And And then that inspired me to take more pictures. And I think through more photography that I did, the better I got, the more competent I was, the variety of stuff that I could shoot was much broader and became much more of interest to me.
And we're going to look at some of your work in just a moment.
That's
but
right.
What is it about? You said you used the word magical around these images forming in the trays in the darkroom, which I don't know whether you still do it that way. But the magic, I imagine, is to do with creating something.
Yeah, I mean, very much that was in the past, but now it's all gone into digital. It's very much more instant, and I do mainly portraiture, which I love very much because I like meeting people, chatting to people, and getting great images from it. But my personal work's more landscape and going out into the wild and seeing what's there to be shot. And I use a very different sort of camera. I use something called a 5.4 camera, which is a medium format camera, still on film, so it's not digital. And to describe it, it's one of those old-fashioned cameras where I don't know whether when you had your school picture taken and a man would put a cloth over his head. That's the camera that you use. Everything on the back of the screen is back to front and inside out, and it's very hard to focus. So it's very much a slow procedure to get to the picture you want.
Great. Well, let's have a look at some of your work.
Do you want me to get them? But this is using that camera, and the shutter, instead of all being instant, quick action, this is a 2-hour exposure. Wow. So it's actually photographed by moonlight. So, and what I did was I camped up in Scotland, and I wanted to retrace people's footsteps. So what I did was I found pathways, and I shone a light down on the path, and then it got this beautiful trail to show up. And now I didn't show up because I was moving. So if I'd stayed still for an hour, I would be a static person. But because I'm just a blur, you can't see me. And this is in Oxford, in a snowy scene, and that was really great. But you get a different sort of colour in the sky, and the snow goes sort of blue because of the moonlight.
So thank you for showing us the images. I'd be interested in knowing more about your take on creativity. We could put those down.
Yeah, sure.
What is creativity for you, Will? How would you define it or capture it in words?
For me, it's something that's always there. I like to create anything. So I like to create woodwork, or I'm just happy making things, making images.
And is it something that you switch on and off in your life, or do you think it's going on all the time?
No, it's always going on in the background. And it's annoying that I can't turn it off because I'm not happy just watching television. I want to be out there doing stuff.
I wonder if you'd be up for doing a little creativity experiment here in the market square.
Sure.
And it does link, not in the way we're going to do it, but its origins come from an amazing cinematographer, Walt Disney. Mm-hmm. And this is what's known now as the Disney creative model or strategy.
Right.
And it captures something of the way he actually created the movies that have touched so many millions of people's minds and hearts. Mm-hmm. And he called it Imagineering, which is a joining together of imagination and engineering. So how to bring whatever we imagine into life, to make it a reality.
Okay. And
Walt Disney had 3 different parts to this process. And the first he called the dreamer, the second he called the realist, and the third he called the spoiler, but it's become known now as the critic. So there's the dreamer, the realist, and the critic. Right. And I'm going to help you in this experiment connect to those 3 aspects that are in you, but to do it we need something to work on. So I need you to identify something that you'd like to bring this creative process to. It could be something you'd like to change in your life, at home or at work. It could be something that you'd like to do differently. It could be a goal that you've attempted but it hasn't quite worked out. Do you have something that we could use in this way?
I would really like to be able to spend more time working on my personal projects. So if I could I guess it would be a more creative way, a better approach at creating time for myself. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So a way for you to spend more time on your personal projects.
Yeah. And
Great.
less time in the corporate world. Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing I'd like you to do, Will, is to find a place to stand here on this bit of pavement where you could connect to your dreamer, the part of you that really would love to be able to spend much more time on your private work, your project work. So where would be a good place to stand to be connected to your dreamer?
Well, I think where we started off here, I sort of think that's sort of normal. I think dreamer would be far away from here in the sort of clouds, in the space, if you like. So I reckon somewhere around here.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do using that nice stick of chalk is to
Wow.
draw a circle around yourself.
Right.
And then put the letter D in the middle of it to
Okay.
be the dreamer.
And then D in the middle.
And D somewhere in the middle there, so we know where your dreamer is.
Okay.
Great. So the next part of the Disney model is what he called the realist.
Right.
So this is the part of us that actually can make things happen, create things in the world, manifest them if you like.
Right.
So where in relation to your dreamer would your realist be? Well, where would you like to stand to be connected to your realist?
I think sort of somewhere in the middle, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe sort of somewhere over here, I think. Be good.
Perfect.
Okay.
So another circle
Okay.
and an R for realist.
Okie dokie.
Great. And then lastly, your critic. So this is the part of you that can look at something, has discernment, can analyse what might work, what doesn't work, that can kind of assess, make judgments around what your realist and dreamer might come up with. So
Okay.
where would you like your critic to be?
I think it'd be somewhere in the middle. Would it
Okay.
be? Because it's sort of compromise between the realism and the dreaming, or would it be?
Well, one thing that Walt Disney said was that you need to keep the critic a little way away from the dreamer, otherwise it affects the dreamer's ability to dream, because the
Righto.
dreamer doesn't like being told that he or she has got it wrong.
Okay.
So not too close to your dreamer. So if you're going to go that way, I wouldn't suggest in the middle. I'd either go that way a little way, or maybe over this way.
But in fact, if I'm going to be dreaming, then I don't want anyone to criticise
Exactly,
me, do I? So
no.
I might as well go right back, so to sort of maybe somewhere over here.
Yeah, perfect.
Get away from that.
Yeah. So
So
a
do you
circle
want a circle
here.
again?
Yeah.
This is getting smaller. I don't like the critic.
That's okay. Interesting. C for critic. Right, give
Okay.
us the chalk. We don't need that anymore. So let's start with your dreamer.
Right.
So I'd like you to stand in your circle with that represents your dreamer.
Yep.
Close your eyes.
Go on.
And what I want you to do is to connect to this part of yourself and this part only. The part of yourself that has a really rich, vivid imagination and can dream of all sorts of possibilities about how you could have all the time in the world to spend on your private projects. So let this part of yourself imagine what that would actually be like. If there was no lack of resources, no lack of time, no responsibilities on you, nothing to constrain you, what would this look like? How would you spend much more time on your personal creative projects? Great, and then open your eyes and what do you get? What do you hear? What do you see in this place?
I get me alone with my work, away from phones ringing. I get away from emails, away from deadlines, and it's just me for weeks and weeks in a beautiful place, creating beautiful pictures.
It's very clear, isn't it?
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
come alive when you say this. So
Yeah.
you would be away doing this work for weeks and weeks
Yeah.
on your own,
Yes, yes.
in remote places,
Yeah.
just you and your work, no phones, no emails, nothing else to distract you, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Beautiful. Very,
Yeah,
very-
I know. I want to be there now.
You want to be there now. This is good. It's a great dream. Your dreamer has come up with the thing that you would most love.
Yeah.
So next thing is to move away, leaving your dreamer where that circle is and coming into this circle,
Right.
which is the realist. This is the part of you, Will, that can make things happen in the world.
Yep.
It's an action orientated. It understands how to make what the dreamer dreams into reality.
Right.
And maybe by changing it slightly, maybe not. But it has a different viewpoint. It isn't just about dreaming. It's about how are we going to make this happen? How are we going to do what Will just said? So again, I invite you to close your eyes.
Right.
And to connect to this different aspect of yourself that's very in the world. It's not dreaming, it's very, very orientated around making things happen. Bringing your imagination into reality. And see what this part of you has to say about what the dreamer just said, which is that you would like to spend weeks and weeks in remote parts of the world with just your work, and no phones, no email, and nobody else distracting you. So how could that happen? What would that actually look like if you were to make this happen? And let your realist have its say about this idea.
Okay.
Great.
Right.
So what do you get here? What does your realist contribute to this piece of work that we're doing?
Well, I think it's saying that it is possible, but maybe not to the extent that the dreamer would like it.
Okay.
So it would have to be a compromise, but it's possible if I was disciplined enough to make it happen, perhaps.
And what would that, can you get a sense of what that it's often the case that the realist says, well, okay, that's a lovely dream, but if we're going to make it happen, it's going to look more like this. So what would the compromise look like, perhaps?
The compromise would have to be a set time in the diary, which wouldn't be months and months, would be maybe a week here and a week there, which would add up to a month, maybe in the year. And it would be enough time so that my other clients would know that, you know, I was away, and so I could turn the phone off and could be away from everything, but just for that week.
Okay. So what I've heard you say is you need to be, was the word discipline, did
yes,
you say?
I think so.
There's a discipline around making this happen.
Yep.
There would be a compromise that might be that rather than going away for weeks and weeks, it might be a total of a month in the year, but maybe a week at a time.
Yeah.
And that you would need to manage your other clients' expectations about the fact that you wouldn't be available at those times.
That's it, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So we go back to the dreamer now.
Yeah, my favourite place.
Great, your favourite place. Yeah, I like it.
I'm smiling again now.
So, closing your eyes,
Go on. Yep.
Now I want your dreamer to take on board what your realist has just said. So, the realist said that this is possible, but not in quite the scale that you dreamt of last time. The realist has said this could happen in blocks of about a week, maybe totaling a month in the year, and that it would require discipline, and you'd need to prepare for it, and you'd need to manage your clients' expectations about this. So given that, what would your dreamer now add to this dream? How can your dreamer make more of that if in fact you were going to spend 4 weeks across the year doing this?
Okay.
Great. What do you get now?
Well, my dreamer still wants to be away from everyone, still wants to do all that. But I'm thinking now that maybe in my studio or in my office, I could be dreaming in my office to create, you know, to focus in on that week. So instead of wrecking for a week, I could actually be researching in little blocks of hours or something, perhaps. And maybe that would, and I'd quite like to do that. I think that'd be quite fun, and it wouldn't put so much pressure on the corporate work, because it'd break up the corporate work into something a bit more interesting, because I could be thinking in the back of my mind where I'm next going to go.
So what I really like about this is that it sounds like you're seeing that there's the possibility of integrating your love of the personal work with your highly focused client work, and that it doesn't have to be one or the other. There may be a way that you could do some of the dreaming and the preparation as a breaking up your client work.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So now, having got these two things, come this way. And let's see what your critic has to say.
Boo.
Now, the critic, boo, you don't want to be on the critic. You said it was a smaller part. The critic is constructive. but also very, very able to see where things aren't going to work or how things need to be changed. Our critic is good at seeing what's missing from an idea, as well as where we're imagining that we're going to make something happen and it just isn't realistic. So
Right.
I hear that, and most of us have a critic that can undermine us. But if we've got a very positively orientated critic, it actually brings a lot to the party.
Okay.
So just closing our eyes here, I
Yep.
encourage you to connect to a very positive critic, not one that's going to rip this to shreds. A part of yourself that can, in fact, see how what the realist and the dreamer, the plan they've just hatched up, can see what's good about it and what will work, but can also perhaps see what else needs to be considered or how it needs to be changed to have maximum effect. So just let yourself connect to that part of yourself and see what insight you get here in relation to what you've just said from the dreamer and the realist.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so I hope that you haven't ripped that to shreds, which our critics can do. What insight do you get here?
Well, the critic inside me is going to say that it's going to cost money to be away from my clients. But I think if I sort of hone into the positive side of my critic, perhaps, if I save up a little bit a month before as part of the preparation, the fun part of the preparation of going away for a week, then that will add to the efficiency and getting it done. And it won't be as though I'm saving, but it'll be as though I'm actually building into something that I want to be, back to the dreamer.
So isn't that valuable? I mean, you probably knew this, but the dreamer and the realist didn't mention money.
No.
But
no.
your critic has helpfully said, well, hang on a minute, if
Yeah.
you're going to be away
Yep.
doing this, it doesn't earn money, so you need to consider that. Is there anything else that the critic contributes to the idea of you being away a week at a time in the way that we spoke of earlier?
I suppose I'd be managing clients. So I'd have to be on the phone, making sure there's nothing coming up that I could sort of get around there, so I wasn't losing money by doing it effectively, and keeping my clients happy, which is, that's very important, of course.
So there's two things.
Yeah.
There's about the client. The realist did get your realist already identified the importance of managing your client expectation,
Right.
but your critic also sees that as a potential
Yeah.
difficulty here.
I think so. Yeah.
Great. So lastly, let's
Right.
come back to the realist.
Right.
The realist is the part that can take on both what the dreamer and the critic have said.
Okay.
So what I invite you to do here, just to finish this exercise, this little experiment, is to close your eyes and to let the realist hear the concerns of your critic. So the critic said that there were two major concerns around the plan that's been hatched up so far,
Yep.
and that is to do with money, needing to earn money, or the fact that you wouldn't be earning money while you're away, and secondly, some concern about how, in fact, the clients that you work with are how you're going to manage that relationship while you're away. So what I would like your realist to do is to see what the solution is to that. If your realist now incorporates the very good advice from your critic.
Okay. Yep.
Great. And what does your realist see now, or where have you got to with this?
I think it's sort of reinforcing how important it is to do it, how important it is for me to be in my favourite dreaming circle, and to be away from my critical circle. So, in terms of actually practically doing it, I think it is now actually possible. I think, that as long as I budgeted accordingly, and as long as I made the time for it, then I think it would make me happy, and ultimately it'd probably make me money, because I could be able to sell the pictures.
And the client relationship, does your realist see that does need attention, and does your realist have a solution to that part of the jigsaw?
I think if I gave my clients enough notice that I was going to be away, I'm sure they could then work around me, and we could work around each other, and maybe put off a couple of jobs for the following week. And I think ultimately my body of work would be enriched by the whole process, because then I could show the clients what I've been up to. They would hopefully like the pictures and hopefully give me more work. So it'd be the whole thing would be positive, and not necessarily immediately making money, but just enriching me for my soul, which is what I need, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we all need.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, this is we know this works because you only have to watch one of Disney's movies to understand how this process of separating out our dreamer from our realist from our critic is a very clever way of bringing into reality what we most dream of.
Yep.
And it's a fantastic model. You can do it like this on the outside with circles on the ground, but you can also do it sitting in a chair and getting 3 sheets of paper and connecting to the different aspects of ourselves. I hope that has given you some insight into this, and I really hope you do what your realist has suggested.
Hey, give me some great ideas.
So that you can achieve what it was that you dreamt about.
Yeah. Thank you.
Will, thanks very much. It's been great to talk to you.
And you. Thank you.
So I hope you're getting a sense of just how important creativity is and just how creative we all are. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, we're being creative, whether that's writing an email or preparing some food or just planning what we're going to do at the weekend. And even while we're asleep, our subconscious continues to be creative with all of the dreams that we have. So given that, you might be wondering why bother giving it any attention at all? Well, the answer's simple. Creativity is like any skill. If we practice it, we can become more creative and so lead more fulfilling lives. I wondered if you'd be up for a little creativity experiment. I'm kind of turning the tables slightly on you. So Anna, thank you ever so much for inviting us to your absolutely stunning garden here, right on the banks of the River Too. You're a garden designer, quite obviously, and tell us about this garden that we're in now, your garden.
My garden. We moved here 3.5 years ago, and the garden was lawn, not very good lawn, and very tall shrubs in front of the windows of the house. So it was the people that lived here didn't want to be seen from the river, but also they couldn't see it. So the first thing I did was take everything out, and my neighbours just had got no idea what was going on and were a little bit upset, but I had a blank canvas then. And then it was a case of getting a feel for the garden, a feel for the house, and for the age and the locality and just everything, and I worked from there to create something beautiful.
Which you've absolutely done. It's stunning, and it's a perfect day to come and be in your garden.
Yeah.
It's lovely, isn't it? Tell us a little bit about the creative process that you went through once you'd created that blank canvas as you described it.
It was going from the architecture of the house firstly, because there are straight lines involved and it's a small garden, and having been taught properly, I've got the rules there and I have to go by the rules before I break them. So it was taking straight lines from the house, using what was there, going with the architecture of the windows and the doors, and again of old. But I wanted it to be a cottage garden and I didn't want a lawn. And it was working from there, and the spaces and interlocking shapes, making sure that, you know, it's not just a straight line with a blob at the end of the line. It's everything interlocks and goes together, so you've got a flow through the garden.
This beautiful water feature,
Yes.
which is kind of almost a fountain but not. What tell us about that?
That's an Indian cooking pot, and I think it's called an Early, and found it at an antiques place, and it was as just an urn as such, and I just loved the shape. It was the shape I was looking for, and didn't know what sort of metal it is made of. It's a variety of different metals, and on the rim it's got the initials of the actual people who owned it, and every family in India used to have one of these for making sweets for weddings. And I just love it. It's well over 100 years old, and made it into a fountain. Very pretty.
So how long did it take for you to go through the process to kind of work out what it was that you were going to make
Yes.
happen here? What kind of timescale?
Well, it was only probably a month or so to go through it, but unfortunately my husband became ill, and so we just sat on it for a while and didn't do anything for the first year, which was probably a good thing actually. So I didn't change anything, but it made me convinced of what I really wanted.
You've brought some of your other kind of plans and things
Yes.
that you use, as well as some lovely pictures of flowers. Just take us through what you've got here.
Yeah. Well, this was a plan of this garden, and they're usually on far larger, but these are A3 because it's a windy day. And it's a flat plan, so the house is here, and you can see the basic shapes that I drew, and we've got the river here. If this was for a client, I would then present them with a mood board to go with it, or several mood boards showing different areas. And for instance, if we've got a seating area, it would show them different materials that could be used, different materials for the ground, for the paving. It might be stone, it might be bricks, old bricks or whatever. So people can get a feel, because a lot of people can't visualise from a flat plan. So it's just to do this, and these will then, I will put them onto the computer or whatever for people to take away and see as well.
But neither the flat plan nor these mood boards necessarily shows the planting though, or,
No.
or what that is going to look like when the
Yes.
garden has matured. So how do you...
Well, I do a similar thing for planting as well. So all the different plants, I mean this is just from one small bed for a client, and I will go through all the plants with people if they want to. But generally people just want to have a feel. They will tell me a colour that they don't like, or a plant that they don't like, and apart from that there's blind trust, blind faith in me really, but I can always bring them here so they can have a look and see that I do know my plants.
So if we broaden this out to kind of just look at creativity itself,
Yes.
given all the work that you've done, all the experience that you have, how would you define what creativity is and what it means to you?
Hard to define. I think that for me it's making something beautiful for someone else out of something that wasn't beautiful in the first place. But it's a process. So it's a process that I have to go through. I have to solve problems and think differently, think outside the box, and come up with solutions to what they've got, and to make it beautiful.
And you mentioned your husband, who's very sadly passed away earlier this year, but you told me earlier that his take on creativity enriched yours, and I
Very
imagine
much so.
the other way
Yes.
round. And you saw a creativity in him that was very different to your own?
Yes. He was a businessman, a brilliant salesperson, professional salesperson, and deal planner, who could negotiate, and he would just come up with a different way of thinking all the time. And one of the things, when he was first diagnosed, he had a bone marrow transplant, and he wanted to do some things and raise some money, and he didn't just want to do something that everyone else does, it had to be different. And he came up with an idea which he called Around with Rog, and he went all the way around the UK, including Ireland and Scotland, on the motorbike, carrying golf clubs on the back of the motorbike. There was a different golf course every day, and he persuaded the different golf courses to give him a round for 4 people, and he auctioned off the other 3 places. St Andrews, Wentworth, brilliant golf courses, and he raised £34,000. But it was just something different. No one had done it, and it inspired people and caught their imagination.
And this is partly what I'm trying to point to in this programme, is that creativity, of course, is about garden design, and it's about writing music and poetry and sculpting,
Yes.
as you mentioned, but actually our lives are an act of creativity.
Yes.
And we can all express ourselves creatively in different ways, just as your husband did with
Yes.
the ideas of the idea he had around raising money in a way
Yes.
that nobody had ever done before.
Yes.
That's original and creative.
It is, and he also he was conscious that he couldn't paint or draw, although I thought he could. But he went about it with the iPad, which was fantastic. He used an app and created a picture on the computer, which I'd like to show you, which fell down. And this was from just a photograph of the garden, and it was using a package there whereby he created this picture. And it's brilliant, and he loved doing it, and he loved the creative process.
Thank you for showing us it as well. Yeah, it's
lovely.
really lovely to be in your garden and hear about how you work. I wondered if you'd be up for a little creativity experiment. I'm kind of turning the tables slightly on you. You'll see that there is a similarity, or there may be something that you could incorporate if you don't think it's too mad in the way that you design gardens in the future. But I need you to identify something that you would like to bring to this little experiment. So it could be to do with your work or your home life or something in the middle, something that you would like to explore a creative solution to,
Yes.
a problem or something that you'd like to change. Yeah.
Right.
So Anna, have you got something that we could work with here?
I think so.
Okay, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I'm sort of considering going on a walking holiday, but it will be on my own. It's an organised group, but I will be arriving on my own, and I don't know whether to go or not.
Okay, so there's a question mark about it.
A question mark, yeah.
What would if you were to articulate that question, what would the question actually be?
Oh, difficult one. I'm not sure really. I guess.
Is this right for you?
Is
Would
this
it, or
right?
would you enjoy it? Or
is
what,
it too soon? Will I will enjoy walking, but
yeah.
is it too soon? Will I feel lonely?
Okay, great, fantastic. So we've got a piece of paper and some lovely bright crayons.
Right.
So what I'd like you to do first of all, Anna, is just close your eyes. So just connect to this question mark that exists around this. And you said whether you knew you'd enjoy the walking, but you wondered whether it was too soon and whether you would be lonely. So just connect to those queries. And then what I'd like you to do is to allow an image to come that could represent this question, this issue. And then when you've got it clear enough, I'd like you to open your eyes and capture something of that image on the paper. It doesn't have to be an exact representation, but something on the paper that would be suggestive of what you've just seen. Yeah. And this isn't about being good at art.
No,
It's
I'm
just
going to very abstract.
very abstract. Great.
Right.
Okay.
So have a child's type picture.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine.
Right. Then we have a shortage of colours. Me coming down the hill. Right. This is me. And this is a sea,
Okay.
just in case
Yeah.
it's not obvious.
Okay.
There you go. Different.
Yeah, yeah. It's great. It's perfect. So, just have a look at your image for a moment. And this image, Anna, represents the question mark that you have around this
It does,
holiday.
yes.
Yeah. So, and here's the slightly unusual thing, is what I would like you to consider is what if this image really represented this question mark, this problem or wondering about this holiday, what is it that you would like to say to this question?
To say to the question.
To say to this image that
To say
represents...
to the image.
Yeah, what is it that you... If this were actually the problem, what would you want to say to it? Or ask it?
Well, I guess, what have I got to lose?
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really got anything to lose,
Mm-hmm.
because if I don't like it, I could just come away.
Yeah. So, but is there anything that you want, is there anything that you'd like to communicate to the problem, to this? You'd like to say, well, I haven't got anything to lose, yeah, because you could just come away.
Yes,
Anything else that you would say to this?
to the problem.
Doesn't have to be, but
I don't know.
you don't know.
Like, why are you on your own? Why are you up the hill? Maybe I'm scared of coming down the hill.
Okay, very good. And so that's what you've said to this. You've said, what have I got to lose? And
Yes.
you've also said I could come, I can just leave.
Yes.
And then what was the second thing? Why are you on your own?
Yeah.
And there was a question mark
About the
coming
hill.
About the hill.
Yes.
Great. So now here's the next bit, which is even odder. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine that you are this image.
Yes.
So you are the question. And Anna has just said to you, what have I got to lose? I could just come away. And why are you on your own? And what's this about you being on the hill? And what does the image reply if you imagine being the image? What would the problem say to Anna in response? Take trust whatever comes.
And I think the problem's saying don't do it.
Ah, the problem is saying don't do it.
Yeah.
Very good. And if would the problem be happy for me to speak to it?
Yeah.
Great. So can you tell us why you're saying to Anna, don't do it?
I think what we're saying, because Anna's got plenty of friends that she can go walking with, and she doesn't have to put herself through this, and that they're probably not the people that she would want to be meeting at the moment.
Very good. Thank you. So now, Anna, I'd like
I've got my eyes open.
Great. I'd like you to come back to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. And imagine that the picture has just said to you those things.
Right.
It's just said to you, don't do it. You don't need to put yourself through this. You've got plenty of friends, the picture has said to you, and you probably wouldn't want to be with the people
Yeah.
who you would be on this holiday with. And what would your response be to that if you were to speak to the image that's just said that?
Well, I would ask why, but I think it's probably quite right. So,
Right. So you'd be curious as to why?
yes,
Why what? Why?
why it's saying that.
Yes. And there's a sense for you that that's probably quite right.
Yes.
Great. So the last thing I'd like to do, if you'd close your eyes again and imagine being the problem, being this image, and Anna has just said to you, why? Why did you say what you said just now? And what would the image say back to Anna?
Well, we're going around in circles here.
There you go. So that can happen. But
Yeah.
what would it say?
If I've asked it why it said that
Yeah,
to me.
why has it said this to Anna? Why do you think Anna shouldn't do it and that she's got lots of friends?
I think that it would probably say it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to be looking for something like this, and I don't need to.
Great, thank you. And please come back, open your eyes. So that's it, that's the creativity experiment, and it's an idea that we can actually put our problems or issues or questions that we have on to paper, and then we can actually have a conversation with them. And so what has happened here, and I don't, it's for you to reflect on how useful it is to you, but the image said to you, you didn't need to do this. The people that it's too soon, it said, and that the people that you would be with wouldn't be the kind of people that you
Yes.
want to be with. You then asked the image why it had said all of that, and its response was around that it's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. What do you make of all of that, Anna? Is that useful to you?
Well, I think it was all in my conscious anyway.
Yes.
And I think that probably most people, if they've got a problem, are going through a process and of solving it, and whether it's visualisation or not. Rog said to me, he said, don't react too quickly to anything. I've always been very fast react to do things quickly, and he said to me, don't. He said, consider things, and I guess this is me considering it anyway.
Yes.
And I'm pleased that I haven't already booked it.
Yes, and part of what was said here was around it's a bit quick, a bit of a knee-jerk
That's
reaction
right.
is kind of what you told yourself.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
great. Thank you for having a go at that. And I wonder whether if down the line, if you've ever got a problem when you're doing your design, that you could explore working that way and talk to the design and see what the design says back to you. I don't know whether that would work for you or not, but it would be interesting.
Yeah.
Anna, thank you so much for letting us come and be in your garden today.
Pleasure.
It's been
a noisy garden. It's usually very quiet.
Noisy. There's a man over there banging. I think he's just brought his boat to the side of the Thames, hasn't he?
Yes.
He's making sure it doesn't wander away. But thank you. It's been very, very nice talking to you.
Okay, pleasure. Thank you.
Well, that's just about it for today. I hope you've enjoyed being with us. Thanks to all our guests for sharing their experiences of bringing creativity into their lives, and for everybody that took part here on the town square in Abingdon. Don't forget to check out our website, which has details of all of the creativity tools that we used in today's programme, along with other ideas for bringing creativity into your life. And maybe see you at one of our creativity workshops that we're running over the summer, if you'd like to fast track your imagination. For now though, from here in Abingdon, it's bye-bye. See you.